March 11th, I had a meeting in Tokyo for Tokyo Peace Film Festival, and it's about 2 o'clock, 2:46. Yeah, it started shaking, and at first it was very weak. I mean, not so big, but usually the earthquake I know is first momentum is biggest and then subside. But this one was first was real, slow shake, and then bigger, 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 bigger. And it continued like 4 minutes. Usually it's 1 minute, I remember. So if you resist first 1 minute, you'll be safe and okay. But this one is continuous and it gets bigger and bigger. Very strange earthquake I never experienced. And I knew it was a quite big one, and everybody was really hiding under the desks and things. Then somebody said, this building is very old, it may collapse. So I was at the 4th floor and the elevator was already shut down. So we took the stairs, went outside because somebody said it may collapse. It may be safer on the street. So we went to the street and it was still shaking. And I was looking up, and in Tokyo there are many skyscrapers, and the place I was in was called Ikebukuro, and many narrow street with high skyscrapers. And I was looking up and it was shaking first like this, and then it started shaking like that, yeah, this way. And I thought, wow, if this hit, and I was down in the bottom, if this hit, I will be dead here. It was very scary, just looking up. What scared me was not me dying. What scared me most then was, oh, I'm not seeing my family, I'm not seeing my kids. That was really, yeah, scary moment, and dying without seeing the family, and they don't know where I am. Yeah, so that was a horrifying experience. And I thought, after looking at the building shaking so much, I would rather be safer inside the building. So I went back to the old building and stayed there. And then after the shaking was over, I came out. Nothing was collapsing, fortunately, and everybody was on the street. And I was talking to some of the people. My cell phone was already dead, but somebody had, other company had connecting to the cell phone, and they had news into the cell phone. And he said it's that we have two numbers for earthquake scale. One is a magnitude, and the other is like actual Japanese scale called shindo, actual movement. So it was shindo 7, very, very big. What I experienced in my 40 years life is like number 4 is the biggest. So 7 was very big, and then the magnitude was 8.6 at the beginning. And then they later changed 8.8, and actually then later become 9.0 magnitude. So one of the biggest earthquake. And I asked the man, where is the epicenter? And because I was worried about nuclear power plants, of course, and they said it was Miyagi, and I said, oh my God, Miyagi has 4 reactors at Onagawa. And I asked, is there anything about nuclear reactor of Onagawa? And he said no. So there was no news about the epicenter. There was a nuclear power plant. That was okay. But later on, we heard the Fukushima nuclear power plants were in trouble. That shindo, the Japanese scale, was number 6. So it's not number 7. 6 is much smaller, but still they had trouble already. And that was about 3 o'clock already, and all the train had stopped, and some electricity was shut down, and no cell phone, and I couldn't call my family. Yeah, so that day, a lot of people went home by walking, but my home was very far away. I It took me about 3 hours to get there. So for me to go back without train is impossible. So I decided to stay in Tokyo. So lots of people like me were stayed in Tokyo in that old building, and it was public space called Kinro Fukushi Kaikan. And many people were gathering around the TV. TV was on. So it was some electricity came back later. So TV was on, and they were showing the tsunami and people taken away, and it was devastating. And near my house there was the oil tanks, those one that were on fire. TV was just showing the tsunami, many scenarios of tsunami, big wave of tsunami one after another, and all the houses collapsing and cars and people taken to the ocean, and nothing about nuclear power plant. And at night, I think it was around 10, but it's already dark at night. There was one line of it's not news, but just in the bottom of the TV, station blackout at Fukushima Daiichi. And my heart started pounding, because I knew what it means, yeah? Once you lose the power, I knew all the Fukushima reactors shut down successfully. So as soon as it experienced the earthquake, it shut down. It was shut off, yeah? So it successfully shut down, but the fuel need to keep cooling even after shutting down. So once all the nuclear plants shut down, there's no power inside the power station, so you need a power from outside of the station to keep it cooling, yeah? And then something, of course, all the electric tower was collapsed, so they lost all the power, and they tried to back up with diesel, and everything failed from tsunami and other damages. So everything they had failed, so they lost all the power. So, wow, they're gonna melt, I said to myself. And I started saying, this means it will melt. And people didn't know, so they were like, who's this woman talking about nuclear power plants? And next morning, I slept that night over there. And as soon as the train started moving, it was packed with people. But I found a way to go to Chiba, which is halfway to my home. And by then, I had my cell phone connecting to... Actually, I was connecting it through Twitter. Yeah, that was on. Twitter was alive, and I was able to use it, the iPhone and Twitter. So I was telling through Twitter that I'm alive and I'm trying to come to Chiba. So that way we found each other. So that was amazing, yeah, because I couldn't connect otherwise. But anyway, we found a train, and in the train, I heard the station blackout continue. So I was telling people around me, this is going to melt down. So if you can evacuate, you will evacuate. So I was already thinking about evacuating, especially my children, away from the nuclear power plants, because our place is about 150 miles. So it's not that far. I mean, I live Fukushima, Ibaragi, Chiba. So 2 states away from Fukushima. But Japan is small island. All of Japan compiled together is just like size of California, a little bit smaller than California. And we have 54 nuclear power plants there. It's really crazy, just to think about having so many earthquake fault, and on top of that, 54 nuclear power plants is very suicidal to me. It's like a nuclear bomb waiting to explode. It's a time bomb. When next time you hit a big earthquake hit the nuclear power plant, we're gonna have explosion again. So I've been working on this issue for a long time, since 1990s, and tried to stop the nuclear power plants. But people don't listen. People believe we need nuclear power plants for energy because we rely on 30% of electricity from nuclear power plants, they say, which we find out later it's wrong, it's a mistake, and it's actually false. But it only becomes so because we base our energy base is nuclear and hydro, and then fossil fuel on top, and the fossil fuel you can turn on and off. But nuclear power, as you know, you cannot turn on and off. Once it's on, you have to keep the same strength. Otherwise, if you try to adjust that up and down, it will be destabilized and it will go like Chernobyl. That's what they did. They're trying to reduce the power, and then it started exploding and melting down. So nuclear power, once it's on, you have to keep it on until you do the testing. Every 13 months we shut down and do the testing, checking everything's okay, pipe is okay. I'm sure you do the same thing in the United States. So every 13 months we have a checking time of 3-4 months, and then again 30 months. So because of that, our base energy is nuclear. That's why it's 30%. But if we lose, if we shut down all the 54 nuclear power plants, everybody think we go, blackout. We have energy shortage, and it's not so. We have enough fossil fuel, especially LNG, the gas combined cycle is much better efficiency than nuclear power plants or other fossil fuel like oil or coal. So I would recommend for now, instead of going nuclear again, we will use LNG combined cycle power station that can supply our energy, no problem. And nuclear power plants, as you know, it's only boiling the water. You don't need that high temperature. You don't have to split atoms to boil water. Just boiling water and the turbine with how do you say, the water steam, yeah? So you don't need such a strong power. In fact, nuclear power plants discard 2/3 of its created energy into the ocean, making the ocean environment really damaging. 7 degrees Celsius higher water into the ocean every day, 24 hours. So that's another thing I'm concerned about nuclear power plants. So I am finally meeting my husband and kids at Chiba, which is halfway between Tokyo and my little town called Kamogawa. And we were so glad we find each other alive, because I thought I was going to die, and I didn't know if they were safe. Kamogawa was very shaky. It was not 5, Shindo 5 Japanese Richter scale, and 6.some magnitude. That was the highest. He told me our pond was splashing like high like that, So he's never seen or experienced something like that. But our house was okay, so nothing was broken. My kids were safe. My husband, no injury or anything. But we had tsunami in our town, and some damage along the coast. Nobody died. But up in Chiba, northern part of Chiba, 19 people died from tsunami. So all along the coast from Fukushima to Miyagi and then Ibaraki, Chiba had a tsunami. Very wide, long tsunami. That was really, I think in my life that's the most devastating event. I never had anything like that before. This time we lost 20,000 people by tsunami and earthquake, and more to come with radiation. Now that Fukushima nuclear power plant, as you know, there were 6 reactors in Daiichi and 4 reactors in Daini first. So there are 10 of them over there. And out of that, only 3 were in operation. The 3 were during the checking time. So nuclear fuel was out of the reactor. So we thought that was a good thing, but it wasn't later. And 1, 2, 3, they exploded. And reactor number 3 had a plutonium. That's something we really, fought hard to stop, because that reactor, all our Japanese reactors are made for uranium nuclear power, and adding plutonium makes it very unstabilized, and if anything happens, that's going to be the worst pollution and very hazardous to human health. But it did explode, and the first number 1 and number 2 exploded the next day, and number 3 exploded on the 14th, so the third day. And that day, we had a really peak hike of radiation in further area, like 300 kilometers around Japan, even in Tokyo. And government and news media hid the information that it's already melted down. It kept saying it's not melted down, it's just some little bit of leakage, you know, and little bit of melting, but not meltdown. In Japan, everything is melted down in the bottom, then it's meltdown. But in English town, when it started to melt, it's already meltdown, yeah. Because you can't stop once this started melting. There's no way you can stop. So as I said to people surrounding me on the right after the earthquake, it was already melting since the day 1. So that information was hidden from us for 2 months. They finally admitted it was melted down in May 15th. So in those 2 months, what happened? People were there, living there, trying to, you know, stay inside because there was warning, and they were also warning about water. So some radiation was detected in the drinking waters. So even people in Tokyo and my area in Chiba, so we were told don't drink the tap water, and especially for children and babies, don't buy bottled water. So people were cautious, but not really evacuating, except for people immediately around the nuclear power plants. They evacuated 20 kilometers, which is like 12 miles. It's very small, don't you think? Yeah, 12 miles, and then evacuated 30 kilometers. That's like 15 miles? No, 20 miles, something like that. Oh, less than 20 miles. So they only evacuate very, very small areas. And the reason behind that is because we have very high population. Fukushima alone has 2.2 million people. And evacuating 2.2 million people is a lot of work. Lots of cost, lots of many costs. Just transportation is cost, and then you have to find the house, you have to find the food and job and everything, yeah. So it was not, I think it was not doable for our government. They didn't even think of that kind of thing could happen in Japan. So they didn't have the plan. They only had the evacuating, actually, they only wanted to evacuate 10 kilometers first, or 5 kilometers, like a few miles. And that won't do, you know, because it's already collapsed and exploded, and it's actually not just melt down, it melted through. Now our spent and the fuel loads went down and went through the container and went to somewhere on the Mother Earth, you know, in the ground. And we were pouring water, trying to cool it. So I don't see any spike lately. It's about the same radiation every day where I live in Chiba, and also Tokyo, not too bad. But the water, where does the water go? You know, we are pouring tons and tons of water every day to keep it cool so that there won't be any further meltdown. But that water, contaminated water, is now polluting the groundwater, and then it eventually go to rivers and ocean. And lots of contaminated water already went to Pacific Ocean, and we are finding it in the fish. Through the food chain, you will find it in bigger fish more later. Yellow dot is highest, next strongest yellow, pink, orange. I'm talking about Fukushima city, and this is a capital of Fukushima, like state capital, yeah? You have state capital, yeah? In Japan, Fukushima city is a state, we call it the prefecture capital of Fukushima. And many people living there, and you see how high it is. So our permissible intake in Japan was quite good. It was 1 millisievert per year, 1 year. That was permissible intake for ordinary citizen. If a nuclear worker, then you're 50 millisievert per year. And beyond 50, you can't work. But do you know what they did? They raised that because we have emergency situation. They raised the workers' permissible intake to 250 first, but with 250 they couldn't control the radiation, so they now raise it to 500. And that's really, I don't know how they survive. 500. It's very high. And what they did for children, because their schools were contaminated, because we have soil in school, in the ground, and many schools were beyond 20 millisievert per year. For adults, I'm only allowed to take 1 millisievert per year, okay, before March 11. But our government said it's okay for children in school, if it's below 20 millisievert per year, you can still go to school. So they kept school open because they couldn't find alternatives, to relocate all the children outside of Fukushima and educate. So instead, they raised the standard high 20 times and kept the children there. To me, that's the most devastating thing, For adults, because we are not as susceptible to radiation as children, but to children, 20 millisievert is deadly. So some of the kids in Fukushima are still going to school in that situation. So I don't know how people is going to keep their health, and they are recommended to eat their local food to support local fishermen and farmers. And I understand Japanese mentality. That's how we are. We try to support, people who has trouble. We really support and try to buy from them. And actually, our government is now trying to the old debris of the earthquake and tsunami, and that's already active. And there is no facility to dispose that. So we're gonna, people in Tokyo or other prefectures are taking the debris and burn it in the incinerators. And then what happened? Radiation from the smoke. And it will be, we will inhale that. And that started happening. So instead of containing the radiation in Fukushima, once contamination happens, I think we should not move it. We need to contain it to minimize the health effect any further. But instead, let's share radiation with everybody. That's what our government is doing. And Japanese mentality is a little bit like that. When somebody is suffering, we should all suffer. And I understand that, but for radiation, the people who suffer is children. If anybody is dying, it's children. So I am very much against what our government is doing, and I'm trying to say my alternatives, And that's why I'm going back to Japan every 2-3 months. I go back to Japan, do my own lectures, and people who will still listen to me will listen alternative story, which is very, very different from our government or media story. The reason they really want nuclear power plants, I believe, is plutonium, because the biggest money they spend is not the nuclear power plants. They spent 2 trillion yen for Monju, first breeder reactor, and another 2 or 3 trillion yen for Rokkasho reprocessing plant. Those two are the governmental biggest national project. And they're both failed, both failing, and they're not in good condition. And Rokkasho has become one of the most contaminated area on the planet because of that. But those are actually extracting plutonium, from spent fuel, and those plutonium is highly, like 98% for nuclear bombs, not for nuclear powers. So I'm believing Japan already has 45 tons of those plutonium. 45 tons. Yeah, that's a lot of plutonium, because for Hiroshima bomb you only need like 8 to 10 kilogram of plutonium. So that's so many nuclear bombs if you want to make one. And we Japan has a rocket technology, And here we have plutonium. If you combine the two together, we have nuclear bomb. So potential of nuclear bomb. And we had Japanese people in general experienced Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we still carry that memory. So we are against nuclear bomb. But somehow, because we are against nuclear bomb, we should support peaceful use of nuclear. That was, I don't know who created that story, but it was very well accepted by people, and that's why we have 54 nuclear power plants. It's a peaceful use, and peaceful use is good for you. But now people are realizing even peaceful use is bad for you. So I'm really hoping this March 11 we can turn this around to something good come out of this. Japan become the first country to abolish all the nuclear power plants, and Japan become the leading country for sustainable energy. That's the scenario I really want to create. So I'm hoping we could do that together with you. And United States and Japan has 160 nuclear power plants. That's a lot of nuclear power plants. We need to work together to reduce one by one and to have really nuclear-free planet. That's where I'm putting my energy for. I'm really sad living in Hawaii that the ocean current will come here directly. The air went to Alaska and California and Mexico and that way and come here later, and it's already here. And I've been watching two sides. One side is about by Japanese people, and I'm seeing Hawaii last night it was 45 CPM. It's very, very high. Tokyo is 18 and Sendai is like 15 near Fukushima. So it was like 3 times higher than Japan. Where is it coming from? I'm not sure this is from Fukushima or this is from somewhere else in this island. There's radiation somewhere here. I have no idea, because radiation has no names. You can say I'm from Fukushima, I'm from Honolulu, maybe Pearl Harbor. There's nuclear submarine there. So, but we had a 45 CPM. That's the highest I've ever seen. That was last night, and today is about 30. 30 is the equivalent of 0.25 microsievert per hour. I won't put my children there, but I have no choice at the moment to stay here. Then going back to Japan, I'm not thinking about that because it's 54 nuclear reactors and earthquake fault is not a good idea of raising children. I don't feel safe to live in Japan anymore unless I successfully stop all the nuclear power plants. So that's what I'm trying to do. So when we met at the station, I or he both said, and yeah, we went back to home together, and we immediately talking about what shall we do? Let's just evacuate immediately as far as possible, which we chose Okinawa. And we called the airline, but it was fully booked, so we couldn't book any flight. But we went to Haneda Airport anyway. We went back home and packed all the passport and some cash and a few clothes, and we left. You know, just left. Take the kids with a mask, and we just left. Went to Haneda Airport, and we wanted to go to Okinawa, but there's no flight. Everything was packed, and there was one flight to Fukuoka in the Kyushu Island, so that's quite far. Now I know if there's a meltdown and explosion, it will reach Tokyo and Kanto area very soon. So we wanted to be farther out. So we went to Fukushima and spent one night there. And the next day we went further down, Okinawa. That's furthest we could go. So we are now like 1,000 miles away from Fukushima. So we can think and recollect our decisions what to do. So that was March 13th. And that day there was an explosion in Fukushima. Right? And I said, oh, so I was right, yeah. I'm glad I'm here instead of Chiba, because it's 150 miles. Now I'm like 1,000 miles. And I started calling my Okinawa friends. I've been to Okinawa many times because there's a U.S. military base there, so that's my place of work. I try to stop the military bases there, so I have many friends. And I called up my friends, and because there's explosion in Fukushima, the babies, pregnant women and children need to evacuate, and this is a safer place. Would you help me to organize something so that they can evacuate here until it's safe? So that day, on the 13th or 14th, we had several good friends started meeting to organize to evacuate women and children from Fukushima. Yeah, that's called Tsunagu Hikari. Connecting Light was born that day. And we did a press conference on the 17th. We officially launched our campaign. So anybody who feels unsafe staying in Fukushima can come to Okinawa and spend time until it's safer there. So that's something we started doing, and we still do today, because there's continuously, even how many months? November, so it's been already 8 months, and continuously nothing has stopped. Every day, little bit of leak, continuously polluting air, soil, and water. So what I'm really afraid now is contamination in food. So after we were in Okinawa and started this campaign of relocating women and children from Fukushima to Okinawa, we had a very strong attack by, like, I don't know who, but we demagoguing, how do you say? Demagogue is Japanese. The term is we are like false, giving a false propaganda or false information to scare people, and don't trust this group because it's not based on scientific. We had lots of attack about our activity, because government was basically saying it's safe as long as you stay inside home, and and they even feed the children local food. Eat locally is good thing, yeah? In general, eat locally is good thing. I really like to eat locally. But when there's a nuclear explosion and radiation is leaking, eating locally is, to me, is deadly. So I was also talking about that. And then there's another attack that, are you going to kill Fukushima farmers and fishermen? They'll be out of job, and yes, they may be out of job, but feeding the children with radioactive food will cause you some health damage later on. So I didn't want to do that. So I was really fighting with my own government to save people. That's really, I feel so sad that why even Soviet Union could save people from the worst polluted area. They escaped, they relocated them immediately after, maybe the second or third day. But our government did almost nothing except for only 10 miles or 20 miles radius. And most of the people are left in Fukushima even today and living in that contamination. And what they hear from the TV and from the government, it's safe, low-level radiation is good for you. They're even saying low-level radiation is good for your health, and people believe it because they won't stay there. I do too. I mean, if I didn't know these things myself, I didn't do my own studies, and living in Fukushima, and if I were the farmer, I would stay there if it's, we are told safe. But I already know too much, yeah? And actually, year 2006, I had Dr. Ernest Stanglass. Do you know him? So I was with a group of people. We invited him over to Japan, and myself and my husband again was an interpreter for him. So we translated everything, his materials and his studies, and we knew what low-level radiation does to you, especially to young children. And we worked so hard trying to stop all those nuclear power plants, and especially Aomori, the Rokkasho reprocessing plant. That's the biggest nuclear contamination on Earth now. So we wanted to stop that. That's the reason we had Ernest Stanglass in Japan. But nobody, media picked up nothing. Nobody paid attention. There are people who are already nuclear activists came to our talk and our presentations, but it didn't spread. It didn't change anything. That was my experience of year 2006. But we've learned enough, not to stay close to nuclear power plants when it's leaking. So that's what we decided. And besides, we always wanted to come to Hawaii, and in March we had our 10th marriage anniversary trip to Hawaii planned anyway. So we came to Hawaii, luckily, after launching Connecting Light in Okinawa, evacuating women and children to Fukushima. My friend in Okinawa self-organized and continued that mission even today. So that's wonderful. So after that's launched, we came to Hawaii, and we spent our spring vacation for 2 weeks. That was just 2 weeks. And Gen and I talked, and Gen and I go back, but let's not take the children with us. So we left the children here, and we went back to Japan. We left the children with our friends here. They didn't go to school, and they waited for us until we come back. That's what we did. So that was a big decision to make. But we always wanted to come to Hawaii and to make Hawaii more sustainable. That was one of our dreams. And as I experienced near-death experience on March 11, you could die anytime. I realized you can just die like that. You can just have earthquake and or car accident or some disease, and you may die. I didn't realize I would die. I knew eventually I would die someday, but I thought I could die like that on that day, March 11. And I said, Ken, I don't know how long I will live. I want to just live my dream. Let's go. And he agreed, and we decided to come here. So we packed very quickly, went back to Japan, and I had my work. I had to do some work there, so already committed, prior commitment. I did all of that, and again went back to Hawaii immediately. I continued to work in Japan until everything is over, and we took a few things. We actually moved from Japan to Hawaii with only 4 boxes. Then we started new life and came back here, find this home, and we moved here. And as you can see, we are creating the garden into farm. This is a residential area, so everybody is really shocked or surprised to see what we are doing, because we are taking the beautiful lawn and digging the hole and taking all the rocks and putting garden here. But as you ate yesterday, I'm already picking vegetables and harvesting from my own garden and eating from the garden. So that's what we did all in Japan for 14 years. We had rice, vegetables, mushrooms, and fruit trees. So we had very highly sufficiency in Japan, and I'd like to do the same here. And with tropical fruits all year round, and you can grow, even winter time, you can grow here. So I think even though our garden is very small, it's only 1/3 or 1/4 of an acre, I hope we can be self-sufficient in a year or 2. So that's what I'm doing. We created a small garden in the, you see, this is a famous lawn. And we took the lawn and made a small garden, and cabbage, lettuce. And this is a Japanese komatsuna. It's like a spinach. I'm going to take some. I try not to take it from the root, because it will keep growing. Take the big one. Yeah, this isn't too bad actually. This is maybe best carrot. This is Chinese vegetable, by the way.
That's what a Chinese word. Actually.
I see. I thought this was Chingensan. We are going to. This is actually rice. You see?
Oh.
This is rice. So each one become like 2,000 rice. If we are successful.
You're building a patty.
We're gonna build a patty here. We're gonna put cover with plastic. Put water and soil and try to make a patty here using the plastic kind of swimming pool, small patty.
Very clever. You'll grow enough rice here to harvest and
Yeah, this is experimental.
Experiment. Yeah, if it grows.
Let's see how it goes.
Our garden has a wonderful kabocha. Kabocha pumpkin. This is Japanese.
Kombucha?
Kabocha.
Kabocha.
Kabocha is
That's right.
Japanese
We love
pumpkin.
those.
Yeah, it's very sweet. There's more there. So kabocha is doing well. These are the oranges. I'm going to take some oranges to neighbors. The ants make nest here inside.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but these are very tasty. And ants are eating them. So
We have to get them before the ants do.
yeah, exactly. And here's some more lettuces. And let's get some daikon. This is lettuce. All the lettuce. And some more. Here is turnip. Turnip. I like that. Turnip and daikon. These are good for soup, miso soup. So, just for tonight. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So quite good, yeah. Such
Beautiful, beautiful.
small garden, but very productive. Okay. So I'm going to make you. Gen-chan, Kato-san, 来てくださいって。So this is very residential area. I live in town, and this house has about quarter of an acre, maybe. The land is not so big. It's the typical residential home in corner. And in that garden, we are taking the lawn and digging it's very rocky, so we're taking all the rocks and making a vegetable garden. And this is what I just harvested from the garden. This is daikon, and this is negi leaf, Japanese negi. This is chinjansai, the Chinese Chinese vegetables, and some lettuce and some kale. And this is carrot leaf and some small carrots. And this is the komatsuna. This is Japanese seed, but it gets gigantic. I hope it's not because of radiation. It's supposed to be much smaller. And some tomatoes.
It's beautiful.
So this is how we used to live in Japan. We grow the rice, and we're cooking in a pressure cooker. And we all really ate from the garden. We ate from the land we lived. And that's, for us, that's how we can contribute to Mother Earth, to support the garden, to support the way we live, support the land, and we are supported by the land. And if people learn how to live that way, because Hawaii is an amazing place, you can grow the food all year round. So this is already my second crop. Some of the lettuces are already second crop because it's already grown in 3 months, and we seed it again, and we are having second harvest. You could do that. It's amazing. And all the fruit trees, so abundant. We have bananas. We planted bananas, papayas, pineapples. We are planting avocados, and coconut tree and some tangerine, orange were all here before we came. So we're going to be doing very well living here in this small land. And I'm hoping within a year we're going to be sustainable. Food and also energy. I'm hoping to make it the solar electricity so that we are independent energetically too. So that's something I really want to do in Hawaii, and also not just me, but with the community. We have more community gardens, and we exchange food and seeds and make this subdivision in Hawaii and bigger place more sustainable. So they've been eating lots of kombu and seaweed since, they've been eating before March 11, but they've been more consciously eating the iodine, lots of seed vegetables. But nowadays it's already kind of polluted with radiation, so I don't know what to do. So this is from our garden.
Wow.
This pumpkin. Okay, nasai. Okay, nasai. After Fukushima, radiation is everywhere. Radiation is already here. I see Kona is quite high, and I see the California is quite high. And you can see the spikes in the milk, and Kona had sometimes 400 times higher or 2,000 times higher here. So there's spikes of radiation, yeah, in the milk. The whole globe is already contaminated, I would say. So, but I'm still, I'm still alive, and you're still alive, and we're gonna live for a while. And all we could do now is to eat or to live a healthy way to strengthen our immune power, like do what you love, and so that you have passion. If you're passionate, you have life force, yeah? So I'm really passionate about my work, and I eat from my own garden, so I'm going to cook all those these today for dinner, and you'll be eating that tonight. And this way, it may be some radiation here, I don't know, but still it gives me lots of joy, and I know the green is good to fight against all the chemicals and radiations and strengthen your immune. There's so many green colors, red, yellow, any color of vegetable will give you so much vital phytochemicals. So from now on, we just have to learn how to live more healthy food and more sustainable way, so that we need to stop nuclear power plants, and we need to stop all the pollution to the planet and the destruction of the Mother Earth. But at the same time, we would like to live such a way so that everybody can live optimum healthy life. So that's what I'm trying to do. One, to stop nuclear power plants, but two, to live this as sustainable, simple, as healthy as possible, daily, every day, every meal. It's about survival, yeah? And as I said, Kona is higher than Tokyo sometimes. The radiation level in Kona is about 30 ppm, and Tokyo is like 18 or 17, there are 10s in Tokyo. So the radiation monitor I'm talking about from radiationnetwork.com, that gives you such a high number in Kona and in Hawaii. So, what's the point of us being here? We are here because we want to really eat local food, which we couldn't do in Japan. I've been eating so much bananas because I become raw foodist, and I really wanted to be able to grow my own bananas and avocados. So I needed to move the more tropical area, and we found this house, and this is a residential area and only small 15,000 square feet, and it's not such a big, it's not farm or anything like that, but we plan to be self-sufficient in this small residential area and supplies the neighbors. What are those Japanese people doing? And we are not going to buy anything from supermarket. We only buy from local farmers or everything from here. That's how I want to live, and it's going to be fun because Hawaii import 85% of the food from mainland and other places, and also 90% of energy is oil, and they're all imported. So all those war on terror and everything is for energy, right? So if we become self-sufficient, this kumquat from my tree. So you're eating kumquat dressing today. Go through this.
You strain it.
Strain. Okay, strain. So you need to strain it.
Well, actually, it's not straining. Well, it's...
Yeah, I think it's strained. Yeah.
This is a strainer.
Yeah, strainer.
Yeah, that's right.
So that miso will be all smashed, small.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the big miso in a chunk.
I like the chunks.
No, that's actually our carrots. It didn't go well here.
Which
The soil isn't good enough.
for carrots?
Carrots, yeah. So carrot is the only crop. It didn't go well. And carrots and cucumber we failed. We haven't found the secret yet for those
So you're
carrots.
cooking this in coconut oil.
Coconut oil, yeah. Coconut oil.
Coconut
So
oil.
this is Jingensai. I don't know the name in English.
Bok choy.
Bok choy? Oh, really?
Well, I mean, that's what I call it.
And this is from the garden, the eggplant.
Eggplant. Beautiful eggplant. Is that Japanese?
Japanese,
eggplant?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love Japanese.
This is the Yumi and Gen cooking show.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is actually called layered cooking. Putting everything layered and into yan. So in is like those leafy stuff is in, except the garlic. And yan is root vegetable. Yan is more warming food. Yin is cooling food. And you put that cooling food in the bottom. And yan, warming food in the top. And then you put some salt on top and you simmer it. You simmer. Simmer? Yeah.
With water.
Actually, no, you use you use これお醤油じゃない? You use sake. 昆布醤油使っていいよ. This is sake.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, so you simmer with sake
Yum.
until it's all cooked and soft.
Oh, I'm going to do that at home. That looks wonderful. That looks just beautiful.
Yeah, this is from the garden. Everything.
Let's eat. This is
This is what I do. I love.
yeah. I love cooking too.
I love doing this.
This is beautiful.
Thank you. All vegetable from the garden. And
Just
yes. 太陽と大地と海の恵みに感謝してね。
撮影したいんだってこれ
はい。
笑ってね
いい顔して。せーの。太陽と大地と海の恵みに感謝していただきます。